pranams. Hari Bol, Hari Bol. 25th of March, 2024. And the great Mahotsav, Gaura Purnima festival is upon us. And we are being showered by Mahaprabhu's mercy today, remembering his divine advent on this day in the evening time here in India at 5 to 6 is moonrise, and exactly 5 to 6 is when the golden complexion Sachinandan Gaurahari made his divine appearance. So we're going to sing Yadi Gauranga Nahita, and then we'll speak from we'll read the translation, and then we'll read from Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat, describing Mahaprabhu's birth advent. Hare Krishna. Jadi Gauranga Nahito, Tabe ke Haito, Kemone Darito De. Gauranga Nahito, Tabe ke Haito, Kemone Darito De. Radhara Mahima, Prema Rasa Simha, Jagate Janato Ke. Radhara Mahima, Prema Rasa Simha, Jagate Janato Ke. Gauranga Nahito, Tabe ke Haito, Kemone Darito De. Gauranga Nahito, Tabe ke Haito, Kemone Darito De. Madhura Vrinda, Vipina Madhuri, Pravesha Chaturi Sa. Madhura Vrinda, Vipina Madhuri, Pravesha Chaturi Sa. Rajara Jugati, Bhavara Bhakati, Shakati Jugati, Bhavara Shakati, Shakati Hoi Toka. Shakati Hoi Toka. Ranga Nahito, Tabe ke Haito, Kemone Darita De. Gauranga Nahito, Kemone Darita De. Gau Puna Puna, Gauranga Raguna, Sarala Hoi Omana. Gau Puna Puna, Gauranga Raguna, Sarala Hoi Omana. Ebhava Sagare, Emona Doyala, Ebhava Sagare, Emona Doyala, Nadeke Je Ekajana, Nadeke Je Ekajana. Yadi Gauranga Nahito, Tabe ke Haito, Kemone Darita De. Yadi Gauranga Nahito, Kemone Darita De. Gauranga Bolia, Nageno Galia, Kemone Darino De. Gauranga Bolia, Nageno Galia, Kemone Darino De. Narahariya, Pashana Diya, Narahariya, Pashana Diya, Kemone Gadiya Che, Kemone Gadiya. Yadi Gauranga Nahito, Tabe ke Haito, Kamane Darita De. Yadi Gauranga Nahito, tabeke haito kemone daritate Radhara Mahima Prema Rasa Simha Jagate Janata Ke Radhara Mahima Prema Rasa Simha Jagate Janata Ke Adi Gauranga Nagito Tabeke Haito Kemone Darita Te Adi Gauranga Nahito Tabeke Haito Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Oh Nitai He Oh Nitai He 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 Oh Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh Hare Rama 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 Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Anitai Gaura Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Jaya Nityananda Rai Jaya Nityananda Rai Jaya Nityananda Rai Oh Nitai Hari Gaura Gaura Hare Jaya Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Nandini Radhe 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 Radha Govinda Dev Ki Jai Radha Rai Ki Jai Sachinand Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai Surabhi Kun Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Astottara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astottara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astottara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astottara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vaishnav Sabhavoma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan Gaudiya Vedanta Acharya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shibata Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhadra Dasa Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai. Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parsadi Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Hardas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sika Hol Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gautundvip Madhyadvip Koladvip Ritujip Janadvip Modundvip Rudradvip Atmaka Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dwarasa Varmatmika Shri Braja Mandal Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kun Shama Kun Ganga Jamuna Devi Tulsi Devi Brinda Devi Bunamasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai. Ketra Mandal Ki Jai. Sarva Vigna Vinashakari Shina Shingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai. Bhakta Prava Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Charidam Ki Jai. Chari Sampradaya Ki Jai. Chari Acharya Ki Jai. Akara Mataraj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai. Shri Keshav Ji Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai. Grantaraj Shrimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Samaga Bhakatvinda Ki Jai. Shri Gaura Purnima Ki Jai. Shri Gaura Purnima Mahotsava Ki Jai. Shri Gaura Purnima Shri 2024 Ki Jai. Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Aginaatimirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadavaktaya Namo Namaha Priya Swarupe Daita Swarupe Prema Swarupe Sahajabi Rupe Nijana Rupe Prabhu Eka Rupe Tatana Rupe Swavilasa Rupe Anapita Chirim Chirat Kuranavartino Kalo Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundaratu Dikatamba Sadipita Sadahridare Kandare Spadatu Vasachinandanaha Yam Pravajantamana Petyam Apeti Krityam Dvaipaino Veraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Tarvo Benirustam Sarvabhutam Hridimunimanatoshmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparadalakshay Shiptascha Karmarita Rangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Paradram Tato Mamanasti Katyana Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams at the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarsara Shishimat Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarsara Shishimat Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And I'm offering again my prostrated dandavats to Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchitananda Namine Gauda Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varaite and all our illustrious Rupanuga, Guru Varga, and all the Vaishnav and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanshakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubevacha, Patitanam Pavnibhyo, Vaishnave Namaha. So the day has dawned of Gaura Mahotsav festival. Here in Navadvip, these streets are crowded with kirtan parties. This morning, the Ganga was packed with great souls, purifying their existence by bathing again in the divine waters of Mother Ganga, who we described yesterday in detail, her descent, etc. So today, such a exceptional day. And we'll read the translation first of all, because it just practically encapsulates everything that we are contemplating today in our meditation. If Sri Gauranga had not appeared, then what would have become of us? Who would, who would have survived? Who would have taught the world about the glories of Srimati Radhika, Radharani, and the topmost limit of Prema Ras? It's quite inconceivable how we've been able to appreciate this divine personality of Sri Radhika. We appreciate her as Shakti Tattva, as we've been studying in our 14th chapter. But more than this, we appreciate Krishna's submission to her. We, the other day, were talking about Jayadev Goswami, and he could not write this immaculate verse, Smaragarala Kandanam, Mama Sirasi Mandanam, Dehi Padapalabam Udaram. He couldn't write that verse, but Krishna came and wrote it himself. And Mahaprabhu, he propagated this mood of parakya, this mood of Radhika's controlling Krishna in Rasa Tattva. How remarkable. Krishna himself, as Shaktiman, is manifesting the Shakti, but the Shakti has controlled the manifester. How remarkable this is to consider and appreciate. And we would not have begun to have heard of this without the mercy of Mahaprabhu. And it was not even directly the mercy of Mahaprabhu, it was Mahaprabhu's inspiration into the heart of Rupa Goswami, who has infused the current of this Bhakti Dhara, this current of our Guru Vargya. This is where we're coming from. When we remember Mahaprabhu, we simultaneously remember Rupa Goswami Pad. Without Rupa Goswami, how can we even conceive of Mahaprabhu? In what form would we conceive of Mahaprabhu without Rupa Goswami? So the various Nityasiddha Parikas of Mahaprabhu, they didn't all understand the complete esoterics of Mahaprabhu's nature and identity in being submissive totally to Sri Radhika. We've described before how Nityananda Rai and Advaita Acharya, they are propagating Shuddha Bhakti in this world. And they are sending us to the lotus-like feet of Sachinandan Gaurahari to receive this prem from Mahaprabhu himself. Mahaprabhu is distributing the prem. Nityananda and Advaita Acharya, they are distributing Shuddha Bhakti, which is the qualification to attain that prem. Without coming to this platform, how can we expect to come into the atmosphere of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Would not be possible without the mercy of Nityananda. But Mahaprabhu is adventing at this time. He took his birth in 1486 here in the Yog Pit in Sridham Mayapur, Antardvip. This is where he manifested. And we're going to read about his birth today, because this is the particular katha that we always hear on Gaura Purnima. We hear about his direct advent. We know that Advaita Acharya was calling loudly to petition the Supreme Lord. It's described even in Vaikuntha, his throne was shaking. So who is that Lord that is adventing? That is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But that Lord had an independent desire to appear. It wasn't simply in compliance with the calling of Advaita Acharya. That calling was needed because the planet or the populace had become so degraded in their worship, etc. They had sidelined Krishna practically completely. It's described that they were just concerned with their marriages of their families, etc., like this. This is what they were concerned with. Here in Navadvip, even though they were very scholarly, but they had no idea of this conception of how to worship Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu, he directly advents prem ras, niryase, korite ashvada. He manifests to taste his own prem. This is why he manifests. If anyone asks us in future, why has Mahaprabhu come? Yes, he's come to give the holy name. Yes, he's answering the call of the Vairocharya. Nevertheless, he's come to benedict the conditioned jivas, but nevertheless, his first reason to coming was to taste this prem that only Sri Radhika experienced during Krishna Lila. In the Krishna Lila, we said so many times, I'm just repeating what I've been saying all week, because this is the day when we get everything together, capsulate everything. And each time we hear these truths, it's not like, oh, I've heard that before. But each time we hear these truths, it will compound the realization of what is that nature of the truth, that he wants to taste the Adiruda Mahabhav of Sri Radhika. He doesn't taste that. He can only experience this Mahabhav up to that degree. So we've described extensively what is the nature of Rudha Mahabhav and Adiruda Mahabhav. And on our WhatsApp thread, there's a very nice diagram describing the different Sattvika bhavs and the nature of those blazing Sattvika bhavs, which will cause the manifestation of this Adiruda. And this is what Mahaprabhu advented for. This is why he came. He also answered the call of Advaita Acharya. He also bestowed this Harinam Mahamantra on the Jivas. So we principally hear these external reasons, just like in Adi Lila chapter 3 of Chaitanya Charitamrita. In the third chapter, Krishnadas Kaviraj is describing the external reasons for Mahaprabhu's manifested pastimes. But in the fourth chapter, then he goes into great, great detail to bring out the nature of Mahaprabhu's tasting this Radha Bhav in extreme ecstasy, particularly in Puri. This is the Vipralamba Bhav that he's going to taste there. In here in Navadvip, he's tasting the modern Akhya Mahabhav internally during the kirtans at Sriva Sangam. So the sadhak has to be contemplating these truths, because this will lead more deeply into the realm and kingdom of Vrindavan. This is where all these truths will lead. It's described how we submerge ourselves in the Ganga and we rise again in Mother Jamuna. We take birth in Jamuna Devi. From Jamuna Devi, and there in Vrindavan, then we begin to absorb our hearts fully in Krishna's Leela. So this is the path. And without this advent of Mahaprabhu, how could we conceivably have come to this state of consciousness where we are today? Whatever state of consciousness we're in today, we should appreciate that it is only by the complete mercy of Mahaprabhu and his parikas, of course, because when Mahaprabhu was contemplating adventing, then he requested all his parikas to take birth in different places. And many of them took birth outside of Navadvip. But remarkably, today, on his appearance day, they all come to Navadvip and they all are intoxicated by the atmosphere that Mahaprabhu invokes by his descent. So this is what we're considering today, as well as the real event of Mahaprabhu coming. We must appreciate Sri Radhika. So it's saying here that who would have understood the glories? Why does Mahaprabhu advent himself? Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima. Mahima means glories. Mahima Kidrishoganaiva. Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidrishoganaiva. This was his first desire, three desires of Mahaprabhu. And his first desire was to appreciate the glories of Sri Radhika. So how does the conditioned soul come to these states of meditation? Number one, through association with Rasik Vaishnavas. Rasik Vaishnavas have understood this truth, and they will explain in simple language these remarkable realities that Mahaprabhu has manifested for. And principally, as we've said so many times, he's manifesting to explain the nature of Parakiya Ras, because this is the dynamic or the relationship between Radha and Krishna. It is not Swakiya. So, generally, in this material world, a respectable, loving relationship culminates in marriage. That is socially accepted, and that is how it works in the world. But Parakia is considered in the world as being completely abominable. Totally, it's the very most, it's the bottom of the line. This having a relationship with another person's wife. And yet, Krishna, he engaged in these relationships. So, how was anyone ever going to understand without the advent of Krishna directly himself to explain the nature of this Parakiya Ras? And if Krishna, the Supreme Lord, is explaining it, then we can understand it. Then we can accept it. And we can also have the ability, have the adhikar to accept it by taking this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, by taking this Harinam. This Harinam is going to deepen our consciousnesses um, to such a high degree that we even have the capacity to understand that Krishna basically wants to taste his own energy. If you say this to someone who's not a devotee, how will they begin to comprehend even an expression like that? They won't understand. Yet the devotees, we take it very regularly. Yes, yes, we hear it many times. And because we're hearing it so many times, then we start to, our shraddha will thicken, this paramatic shraddha, this faith in the eternal reality. And with that increased faith in the eternal reality, what happens simultaneously is our faith in this material reality will dwindle. And when our faith in the material reality dwindles, what does that mean? My material desires will decrease, where I don't have any desire to enjoy this material world. At the moment, in the conditioned place, conditioned conscious, we have so many material desires, unlimited billions of material desires. When you sit down to take a meal, for example, just appreciate how many material desires are flooding into your consciousness. What's that? Someone turn their phone off. Quickly. Yes. Sound vibration, you see? Sound vibration just captures everybody. Isn't it? Instant. Sound vibration is the most powerful influence on the consciousness. And this sound vibration is originating from Sri Krishna's flute. Golokera Premadana Harinam Sankirtan. It's coming from Goloka Vrindavan. So we have two ears, and they protect us at night from any danger or intruders. They'll protect us. But we only have one mouth to speak. But it's the sound vibration that has the potency. So to move the heart, we hear too many descriptions of Krishna's flute. When Krishna's flute is playing, how the rivers become stunned, how the birds become stunned, all creatures, the cows, the grass remains within their mouths. They stop chewing. Everyone becomes completely stunned by the sound vibration of Krishna's flute. So the sound vibration of this Hare Krishna mantra has the potency to purify the darkest regions of our heart. It has that potency. So the wise devotee will utilize his whole life to try to capture that sound vibration in his consciousness, to try to open the doors of his heart first through the process of sadhan bhakti. Through the process of sadhan bhakti, we come to the peripheral, perhaps, of bhav bhakti. We start to appreciate the nature of bhav bhakti. And one of the symptoms of bhav bhakti is moksha lukhata krit, lakhuta krit. We don't have any ambition for liberation. Has our desire for liberation ceased? Examine carefully. Is there some pleasure here in this material world that I'm still hankering for? That I still think, yes, I can get a bit of taste there. That means my material senses are not fully absorbed in the transcendental focus. That means I still don't really accept that I am a transcendental soul. That is my identity, not this material body. So, by the appreciation of the Mahima of Sri Radhika, all of these material darknesses can be purified. And then in the second verse, it's saying, who would have had true insight to enter the sweet rapture of the forest of Vrindadevi? Vrindadevi, it's her forest. She is Yogamaya. Purnamasi and Vrindadevi, two aspects of Yogamaya. Vrindadevi has a young body, so she is present at the Ras Leela pastime. Actually, it's described she is the audience. Her and all her millions of Sakis are the audience in the Ras. Someone has to cheer, someone has to clap at the beautiful display of dancing unknown to man. They have beautiful batons and flags, and they've come prepared for an ecstatic dance. And someone has to cheer, someone has to clap. Sadhu, sadhu, they have to cheer like that. And the singing is so remarkable. It's described that the sound vibration of their bracelets, of their anklets, of their waist bells, ching, 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 is the predominant musical sound. There are mridangas there are cartels, but the sound of their ornaments is the predominant musical sound. But the sound of their singing, this is what um, lifts practically the sky. And they are completely absorbed in that sound vibration. It's this sound vibration again, which is all encompassingly intoxicating in the Ras Leela. And everyone becomes totally focused in bringing pleasure to each other. The gopis only want to bring pleasure to Krishna, and Krishna only wants to give pleasure to the gopis. It's completely reciprocal, and it's going higher and higher and higher in their exchanges. So this sound vibration is very wonderful. And Vrinda Devi, she's witnessing this, and she's cheering, she's clapping, etc. This is very beautiful to appreciate. Forest of Vrinda Devi, and the power to render loving service in the mood of the damsels of Braj. Who would have appreciated the mood of seva that the gopis perform to Krishna? The gopis are, are described as Krishna's life and soul. He tells Arjuna at one time, they are my life, my teacher, my nourisher. They are my everything. I know nothing of the affectionate dealings without the um, uh, teachings of the gopis. It's the gopis themselves. And Krishnadas Kaviraj, he really substantiates that in the Adilila chapter 4, and especially in the Rai Ramananda Sangvad. There he especially brings out the potency of the gopis' bhav, the gopis' mood. This is really accentuated in that Rai Ramananda Samvad. So the sadhak, in his enthusiasm to appreciate these states of consciousness, should diligently absorb his mind and consciousness in those shastras, because what else are we going to absorb our mind in? We will absorb our mind in the material workings of this world if we fail to catch the current of these splendid shastric illuminations that can pour into the heart to give us clarity and vision of where to go. Chanting will give us potency, but when you've got the potency, where are you going to go with the potency? We said many times, like putting petrol into a car, where are you going to drive once the potency is there? You have to be clear. And day after day after day, your focus becomes more and more and more clear. It's not like, oh yes, now I know the focus, put the books down and everything, I'll just relax. It's daily increasing, because the dynamic of love itself is only about increasing. The love between Radha and Krishna is only about increasing the height of their ecstasies. That's why it works through these different bhavs, these different sattvika bhavs. We describe these 5 different stages of the sattvika bhavs, always increasing. This dumayata, this smoking, and then juvalata, that blazing, and then dipta, udipta, sudipta, these increased. Everything has to be increasing. If the devotee ever finds himself on some type of plateau and he doesn't find that he's actually moving forward, then he should become very restless and very concerned that why am I not moving forward? And then you look through, what am I deficient in? What am I not attending clearly? Am I listening to Harinam? Am I associating nicely with devotees? Am I praying to my Gurudev for Kripa sincerely with my heart and soul? Am I crying out loudly in desperation to him? If I'm not, if it's just a weak cry, then how will Gurudev respond? He won't. It's got to be that desperation mood. We need to cultivate these moods. And then, if we have the fortune to reside for some time in Vrindavan Dham, all of these moods can become very clearly focused on the different pastime places. And we can go through, when we're in Giriraj Govardhan, we can remember Krishna and his cow grazing pastimes. But then when he's out cow grazing, he's only thinking of Sri Radhika. He's making arrangements with Subal and Madhumangal. Oh, where is Radhika now? When will I meet her in Radhakund? We're at Giriraj Govardhan, but what is the highest place in Giriraj Govardhan? It's Radhakund and Shamakund. And he's meditating on those pastimes. So Krishna is fully focused and waiting to meet with Radhika. So how does this impact the conditioned souls? We haven't seen Radhika, we don't know that, but still we have faith. And this faith will increase day by day with hearing these topics, these divine topics. So Narahari is saying, and the power to render loving service in the mood of the damsels of Braj. What is the nature of that loving service? It's without any thought for their own welfare whatsoever. When they actually run to Sri Krishna in the early evening of the night, when they hear the flute song play, they run to the forest, the dark forest. They have no fear whatsoever. They're only thinking one pointedly, how can I please and satisfy Krishna? So when will that desire rise in my heart by the mercy of the gopis to please only Krishna? When Guru, he gives that mercy through Nityananda Rai and through the holy name, that mercy will manifest for the conditioned jiva. Then he's saying, with a simple heart. Simple means putting away all thoughts of deceit, all thoughts of trying to cheat in this process. The mind doesn't want to face the absolute reality of the truth. It needs a lot of courage to face the truth, to realize our insufficiencies in this world, to realize the position of our false ego, like we described, like Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj describes, the absolute insignificance. It's a horror to us to realize the insignificance of our actual false ego. And when we realize that, then we can perhaps begin to seriously cultivate our pure ego. And the pure ego, the only activity of the pure ego is to bring service and happiness to Krishna. Service is the symptom of love. It's the only activity of the soul, in contrast to that soul that wants to merge into the Brahman and just be peaceful in Shantaras. That has no activity, there's no connection, there's no relationship. But when the soul is performing his eternal activity of service, of seva, and in this world, this service begins when I'm doing service to Thakurji, when I'm doing service to the Dham, when I'm doing service to the Vaishnavas, When I'm doing service to Shastra, I'm serving Shastra diligently. When I'm doing service to Nam, when I'm doing all the service to Guru, principally, when Guru Dev is present on the planet, it's very simple because he will say to us directly. We'll perhaps write him a letter, or what should I do, Gurudev? He will tell us directly. But when Gurudev is no longer present, then we must find that presence of Gurudev within the heart. He's there, just as the Supersoul is there within the heart. And Srila Gurudev, it's described, he's closer to us than the air we breathe. He's described all this at length, at length, at length. We in my Gurudev Sangha are very conscious of this Guru Nishta element. I know in some Sanghas and different places, this prominence of Guru Nishta is not so strong. It's not so present. So therefore, when I associate with those devotees, I can sense their dependence on Guru is not sufficient. Because if dependence on Guru is not there, where will we put our dependence? On my own mad mind? Will I put my dependence there? On my own ideas? On speculation? Will I put my dependence there? Will I just decide, oh, I will just go to this place, that place, I will go to Puridam, I will go to Radhakund, I will go to these different places, independently of Guru? Before we do any activity, we should pray to Guru. Do you condone my desire? Do you favor my desire to do such and such? And when Gurudev was on the planet, many times people would come to him. They say, oh, Gurudev, I want to open a restaurant somewhere. And Gurudev would say, oh, that's not perhaps going to be best for your bhakti. Oh, but Gurudev, I really want to do that. I have the resources and this. And Gurudev would say again, but probably it's better if you perform this service. Then again, the person would say, oh, but Gurudev, I really want, I've got a place, it's on this street and so on, and I can turn, and okay, no problem, no harm, go and do. But he would say 2 or 3 times first, but the devotee wouldn't listen because their own material desire superseded Gurudev's. So now, with Gurudev's absence, our own material desires, are they going to supersede what is Gurudev's desire? And it might be in complete contrast to your desire. I can remember when I first came to Srila Gurudev and was staying in the Mutt in 1994. And I had been living in Vrindakund. And I had made friends with the pujaris in Javat. And I would go regularly and meet those pujaris. And I was intoxicated by the beautiful sweetness of those deities there. And in the Mathura Mutt one evening, Premananda Prabhu, he came to me and said, oh, you've been called to Javat. The pujaris there are having difficulty. And now is the month of Kartik. And they want you to go and help with the deities there. Oh, wow, this is incredible. This is incredible. Then I immediately ran to Gurudev, almost in a mood of, look at me, I've got this order from Divine to go to Javat. And Gurudev said, bogus, straight away. Before I could even hardly say anything. He said, paisa, paisa, paisa is actually what he said. So his respect for the pujaris was something, but why were they unable to perform? This was in the month of Kartik. This is in the auspicious month of Kartik. And I was thinking, oh, yes, wonderful. I can escape the mud and go to a quiet place of Javat and just perform seva to those beautiful, I can't remember the names of the deities there. Radha, Kanta, I think. Radha Kanta is the names of the deities. Radharani is so beautiful there. She looks exactly like a teenage girl. I've never seen another form of Sri Radhika that looks so much like a teenage girl. She has a little beauty spot on her cheek and she looks exactly like a teenage girl. She's totally divine. But Gurudev completely canned that idea when I was fully thinking, oh, yes, this will be the way. So sometimes Gurudev will contradict us and say no. So are you listening to Gurudev or are you listening to your mind's desires? Our mind's desires are very, very strong. My Gurudev says in the Gopi Geet, he says, it seems like the mind, heart, and vision are on one side, and Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra are on the other. My mind and heart want to do this. My heart wanted to go to Javat, for example, but Srila Gurudev, no, this is not conducive, because he had a far-reaching vision for our welfare. And he knew that by my being in his company for the month of Kartik was going to have far more potency on the welfare of my soul than going again into the wilderness of Braj alone, without Gurudev's presence completely, without the association of pure bhaktas. So he knew that was not going to be conducive. So he categorically changed that. But try to understand what it means. When we want to do something, we should ask Gurudev, and we should be prepared for Gurudev to say no. If we're listening closely, if it's not going to be conducive, we don't know what is conducive for our bhakti. We're very bewildered. We don't know exactly. But the Mahabhagavat, he can see. He knows what is best, like Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Those young boys and girls, they didn't want to go onto the street necessarily and distribute books. You know, sometimes it was very cold and this and that. And he pushed those devotees out for greater advancement in their punya, which was necessary. Just close the door. Oh, he didn't close it. So we have to have great respect and regard for the vision of Guru, just like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He's guiding us through this Jaiva Dharma, for example. He's showing us all these principles of Jaiva Dharma. Quickly, shut the door, sit down, you're disturbing. Quickly. So have faith. If we don't have faith in Guru, we certainly won't listen to Guru. We'll listen to our own mind's desires. So whatever we want to do, even if we want to just go to the shops to do something or other, check first, internally check. Make that close connection with Guru at every step of our lives. He'll be there. He'll reciprocate. You watch. He'll reciprocate if we have faith. That means if he says, no, don't do that, then don't do it. Sit down quietly. So like this, we should have this faith. So with a simple heart, this is what we're talking about, a simple heart, not duplicitous, not saying to Gurudev one thing, but when Gurudev says no, then, oh, but Gurudev, but Gurudev, but Gurudev, all these buts will come. You know, obstruct us, obstruct us, obstruct us. You understand? With a simple heart, always sing about Gauranga's glorious qualities. I cannot see even one person as compassionate as he in the ocean of material existence. No one else gave us this prem that Sachinandan Gaurahari has given us. No one else is giving this prem on this level. We said many times, Krishna, he comes to taste his own leelas with great relish and happiness in Vrindavan Dham. He doesn't distribute them because he knows that Mahaprabhu, his incarnation, his manifestation as Mahaprabhu, he will distribute them through Mahaprabhu's Kripa. And through Nityananda, we will come to this place. It's a science. It really, really is a science. It's a transcendental science. Even though I chant Gauranga, my heart has not melted. This is how the sadhak always thinks. Mahaprabhu himself says, what that na prem ganda, I don't have a single cent of prem for the Lord. These tears you see me shedding, na prem ganda darpana. Just these tears that I'm shedding, they're just a show. They're just an imitation. They're not really what's happening in my heart. This is what Mahaprabhu himself is saying. So what to speak of us? As soon as any exalted mood comes, we want to write it on Facebook and share it, tell it somehow share it with the world. This is not the path. This is not going to direct us internally. This is going to put us more on the external plane. So we need to know these distinctions here carefully within ourselves as we're moving along this trail, this path. So my heart is not melted. How do I continue to maintain this body? Yes, once you've even tasted a tiny, 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 tiny atom of a drop of the sweetness and speciality of Krishna's pastimes, you can't leave it. This addiction is so all-encompassing for the consciousness. You just want to get back there. You want to get back into that place, that current, that very, very thin, very small connection to Shuddha Bhakti. It's called Rag Mag. Rag, what's it? Rag Mag Chandrika. This Rag Mag Chandrika, this very thin moonlight path through the forest of our disturbed minds. This very Rag Vartma Chandrika. Rag Vartma Chandrika, the hidden path of devotion. This path, if we begin even for a few milliseconds on that path, we will never want to give it up. We'll never want to stop it. So the sages and rishis, they've described how to live in an environment and cultivate this path peacefully. It's not that we reject externally anything, but internally we reject everything. But externally, we perform the various angas of bhakti, the rules and regulations, everything like that, for um, social behavior, etc. We have to do like that. If we don't, then we just fall into sahajism. That is the place. So it's a finely tuned journey that we're on, and Narahari is expressing this beauty here. How has Narahari been created with a stone in place of a heart? So here his final exhibition of the deepest humility. And we described this the other day, how this is not fictitious. They're not just saying this to make some claim or something of that nature. They're really feeling bereft because they know the pinnacle, the taste of the pinnacle of devotion. Therefore, if that taste of that pinnacle is not manifesting, they feel utterly bereft and they feel that they haven't completed their connection with Krishna. There has to be an urgency here. The holy name will create an urgency. It'll speed the consciousness up so that with that increased intensity of consciousness, you can penetrate into the deeper regions of the subconscious. You can connect with transcendence. You can break through. This is why we perform all these various tapasyas. Today we're fasting. I'm fasting. I'm exhausted, but taking some water. But the intensity of that fasting, it will heighten the consciousness and give us access, give us the eligibility to have access. Krishna will bestow. Only through Krishna's mercy that will come. But my adhikar, my receptivity to that will be available, will be there. I will have created that opportunity. If we chant nicely, a soberness will come in the consciousness. So when these very delicate, sensitive, subtle openings in the higher regions of consciousness manifest like in a drop, we'll have the strength to maintain them, at least for a little while. If there's no soberness there in our lives, then very quickly they'll just evaporate. Do you understand? So we're trying to develop that adhikar to withstand the mercy of bhav, which will come from the Lord through Guru as a result of our focused sadhana. So this is our process. So Narahari has very beautifully described that. So now I want to read the beautiful pastimes that take place and that we sing this beautiful, these verses from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Every single Gaura Purnima, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 13, from verse 98 to verse, I think it's 124, 128, something like that. And we always carefully sing all of these verses through to 124. So from 98 to 124, Adi Lila, chapter 13. So I'm going to start reading these verses. I'll just read the verse. I won't say the Bengali. My Bengali is not proficient sufficiently to make it sound musical enough, because actually these Bengali verses are so melodious when you hear them nicely chanted by a Bengali. Sometimes I've heard different narrations of Chaitanya Bhagavat or Chaitanya Charitamrita recited beautifully by Bengali, and it's so sweet. It's like a whole melody just in the verses themselves. So I'm starting from verse 87 in Adi Lila, chapter 13. In this way, the pregnancy approached its 13th month, but still there was no sign of delivery of the child. 13 months. Mahaprabhu Nimai was giving mercy to Sachimata. Sachimata is the culmination of Kaushalya, of Yashodama, all of these personalities, Krishna's previous Aditi, these mothers of Krishna, they are all reposing in the form of Sachimata. She is the complete mother of the universe entirely. Thus, Jagannath Mishra became greatly apprehensive. Nilambar Chakravarti, the grandfather of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then did an astrological calculation and said that in that very month, taking advantage of an auspicious moment, the child would take birth. Thus, in the year 1486, this is the year. It's got it says 1407, but this is according to the previous astrological calendar. So in our calendar, it's 1486. This is the year of Mahaprabhu's advent. In the month of Falgun, February and March, which is now, in the evening of the full moon day, actually, as that moon arises on from the when you look at Mother Ganga, you will see that moon arises. It appears to have arisen from Ganga Devi herself. It's very splendid, and it's such a glorious, powerful moon. Evening of the full moon day, and the desired auspicious moment had arrived. According to the Jyoti Veda, or Vedic astrology, the auspicious birth moment is described as follows. The moon was in Leo, the figure of the lion in the zodiac. Leo was the ascendant. Several planets were strongly positioned, and the Sadvarg and Astavarg showed all auspicious influences. We read this same birth in the 10th canto of Krishna's birth. This is a very beautiful description of Krishna's birth, where the whole land becomes auspicious. Everything becomes peaceful at the advent of the Lord. When the Supreme Lord manifests himself in this world, everything becomes auspicious and splendidly joyful. When the spotless moon of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became visible, what would be the need for a moon full of black marks on the body? In other words, the moon's glory and beauty is diminished by the splendid moon-like features of Sachinandan Gaurahari. Considering this, Rahu, the black planet, so Rahu is the dark planet. He considered what's the need for the moon. So he covers the moon. There's an eclipse. He covers the moon because the full moon of Mahaprabhu is rising and is so splendid. You don't need to have the moon. So he covers the moon. Rahu, the black planet, covered the full moon, and immediately vibrations of Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, inundated the three worlds. Here in Navadvip Dham in particular, it's described in Chaitanya Bhagavat that Navadvip Dham was such a sacred, holy Dham. It was filled with many thousands, hundreds of thousands of scholars in those days. And it's described the Ghats would have capacity to hold hundreds of thousands of pilgrims, of sadhaks, hundreds of thousands. On our parikrama, previously we would have 20,000 people or 15,000 people in the parikrama with my Gurudev. So we had some idea of enormous crowds of people. Can we imagine 100,000 people all bathing in the Ganga simultaneously? Quite electric, quite remarkable. So this was the condition. All people thus chanted Hare Krishna Mahamantra during the lunar eclipse. So it appeared to be a lunar eclipse, and their minds were struck with wonder because so many chanting this Mahamantra. When the whole world was thus chanting the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, in the form of Gaura Hari, advented himself on the earth. The whole world was pleased. While the Hindus chanted the holy name of the Lord, the non-Hindus, especially the Muslims, jokingly imitated their words. The Muslims here in Bharatvarsh in India are influenced so much by the Hindu festivals, etc., that they are very familiar with the sound vibrations of Hare Krishna. It's everywhere. So they are joking about it. But nevertheless, that joking is taken to be a form of worship. Krishna will accept that. This is like a Nam Abbas description. While all the ladies vibrated the holy name of Hari on earth, in the heavenly planets, dancing and music were going on, for the demigods were very curious. So the demigods have already been informed of the Lord's. I just have to take this garland off, it's very heavy. Huh? Yeah, but it's heavy. I'm fasting today. I'm feeling the weight of some extra burden here. So, Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. In this atmosphere, all the 10 directions became jubilant, as did the waves of the rivers. Moreover, all beings, moving and non moving, were overwhelmed with transcendental bliss. So we can appreciate this joyful occasion. Thus, by the causeless mercy, the full moon, Gaurahari, rose in the district of Nadia today, this very day. And all the Vaishnavas are anxiously, we've been building up for the last week, touring all the different islands, remembering Mahaprabhu's pastimes in Navadvip here, hearing all the glories of Mahaprabhu's parikars, all his exchanges with the devotees, and waiting for this day, this Gaura Purnima day today. Thus, by his causeless mercy, the full moon, Gaurahari, rose in the district of Nadia, which is compared to Udaigiri. Udaigiri is considered that place where the sun first rises, Udaigiri, and then it moves to the east, I think it is, and then huh? It moves to the west, and then it moves all the way around the globe, and the last place it comes to is China. That's the last place. When it takes its go around, that's the most inauspicious place on the planet. And that's when that moon comes then. So as it moves around, it carries auspiciousness. But the very last place is actually China. So we should go to China to help purify the Chinese. Definitely. Although the Chinese are very purified now. Thus, by his causeless mercy, the full moon Gaurahari rose in the district of Nadia, which is compared to Udaigiri, where the sun first becomes visible. His rising in the sky dissipated the darkness of sinful life. It dissipates that sinful life, and thus 3 worlds became joyful and chanted the holy name of the Lord. At that time, Sri Advaita Acharya Prabhu, in his own house at Shantipur, was dancing in a pleasing mood. Taking Haridas Thakur with him, he danced and loudly chanted Hare Krishna. But why they were dancing, no one could understand. They could understand that this is an exceptionally auspicious moment, but the other people, they didn't quite know why we are feeling so joyful. They didn't understand what is actually happening. Seeing the lunar eclipse and laughing, Advaita Acharya and Haridas Thakur immediately went to the bank of the Ganges and bathed in the river in great jubilation. Taking advantage of the occasion of the lunar eclipse, Advaita Acharya, by his mental strength, distributed various types of charity to the Brahmanas. When he saw that the whole world was jubilant, Haridas Thakur, his mind astonished, directly and indirectly expressed himself to Advaita Acharya. Your dancing and distributing charity is very pleasing to me. I can understand that there is some special purpose in these actions. So they didn't know directly that the advent of the Lord was taking place, but still they intuitively knew that something very magnificent was actually happening, was taking place. Acharya Ratna, Chandrasekhar, and Srivas Thakur were overwhelmed with joy and immediately went to the bank of the Ganges to bathe in her waters. Their minds full of happiness, they chanted the Hare Krishna mantra and gave charity by mental strength. In this way, all the devotees, wherever they were situated, in every city and every country, danced, performed Sankirtan, and gave charity by mental strength on the plea of the lunar eclipse, their minds overwhelmed with joy. So, all over the world, but they were celebrating yesterday, and I had a confusion about that because the moon, the full moon, the Purnima, only rises today. So, how could that have manifested yesterday in Europe and other places? I can't. Huh? Yeah, I can't quite figure that out. How, because they were celebrating Gaur Purnima yesterday, but there's only one Gaur Purnima. There's only one moon. There's three stages to the full moon. Understand? There's the first day when it looks full. It's only the middle day that it's completely full, and the second day it also looks full. But the center day is the day when it's completely full. So yesterday would have appeared like it was a full moon, but it wasn't complete. But today it becomes complete. And then the day after, it still looks full, but there's only the center day when it's completely full. In this way, all the devotees, wherever they were situated in every city and country, danced, performed Sankirtan, and gave charity by mental strength on the plea of the lunar eclipse, their minds overwhelmed with joy. All sorts of respectable Brahmin gentlemen and ladies carrying plates filled with various gifts came with their presentations. Seeing the newborn child, whose form resembled natural glaring gold, all of them happily offered their blessings. So Nimai has manifested in the home of Sachimata, and all are coming to honor him. Some understand this is the personality of Godhead, and others are just coming out of their social affection for Mother Sachi. Mother Sachi and Jagannath Mishra are everyone is so endeared to them, has so much affection for them. And when this new son, who looks so splendid, previously she had had 9 daughters and they'd all passed away. And then she had the one son, Vishwarup, and he was just such a splendid gem. But now this son was even more glorious to behold. So they came, dressing themselves as the wives of Brahmanas. So these are the demigods, the devas, dressing themselves as the wives of Brahmanas, all the celestial ladies, including the wives of Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Nrsingadev, Lord King Indra, and Vasishtha Rishi, along with Ramba, a dancing girl of heaven, came there with their various gifts. So they were increasing the auspiciousness of the birth chamber of Mother Sachi. In outer space, all the demigods, including the inhabitants of Gandharvaloka, Siddhaloka, Charanaloka, offered their prayers and danced to the accompaniment of music, songs, and the beating of drums. When there's such a joyful atmosphere in Swaga, that is definitely seeping down into this world. So joy was manifesting everywhere in the whole of creation. This is how it's described with the birth of Krishna in the 10th canto, that all the constellations were completely in their highest, most auspicious alignments when he takes birth. And all of the celestial bodies are all touched by the atmosphere of that auspiciousness, because the Supreme Lord is adventing himself to um, encourage the conditioned souls, to bring the conditioned souls back to that transcendental place. This is his purpose of his advent. Um, Similarly, in Navadweep city, all the professional dancers, musicians, and blessers gathered together, dancing in great jubilation. Yes, there's people, many people who are blessers. They will bless. Ashishvad is called. They are a group, and they will give you their blessing because of their purity. They are so pure that they can touch and they can give blessings. No one could understand who was coming and who was going, who was dancing and who was singing, nor could they understand one another's language. Yet all unhappiness, lamentation were immediately dissipated, and people became all jubilant. Thus Jagannath Mishra was also overwhelmed with joy. How wonderful, how splendid. This is today. This is Gaur Purnima. This is what we're hearing. Chandrasekhar Acharya and Srivas Thakur Both came to Jagannath Mishra and drew his attention in various ways. They performed the ritualistic ceremonies prescribed at the time of birth according to religious principles. Jagannath Mishra also gave varieties of charity. Jagannath Mishra, of course, is none other than Nanda Baba previously. King Dasarath previously is the embodiment of that. We remembered how Nanda Baba, he gave so much charity when Krishna is born. He emptied all his treasury and then he gave more. He just kept giving more and more cows in charity. Such an abundance of charity, which caused all those he was giving charity to start offering charity back. So the whole world was just in a mood of giving, giving. Everyone was giving in charity. So this really auspicious atmosphere was pervading everywhere. Whatever riches Jagannath Mishra collected in the form of gifts and presentations, and whatever he had in his house, he distributed among the Brahmanas, professional singers, dancers, bhatters, and the poor. He honored them all by giving them riches in charity. The wife of Srivas Thakur, whose name was Malini, accompanied by the wife of Chandrasekhar, Acharyaratna, and other ladies, came there in great happiness to worship the baby with paraphernalia such as vermilion, turmeric, oil, fused rice, bananas, and coconuts. All auspicious items were being offered to the Lord at that time. One day, shortly after Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born, Advaita Acharya's wife, Sita Devi, who is worshipable by all the world, took her husband's permission and went to see that topmost child with all kinds of gifts and presentations. There were also tiger nails set in gold, waist decorations of silk and lace, ornaments for the hands and legs, nicely printed silken saris, and a child's garment, also made of silk. Many other riches, including gold and silver coins, were also presented to the child. Riding on a palanquin covered with cloth and accompanied by maidservants, Sita Thakurani came to the house of Jagannath Mishra, bringing with her her many auspicious articles, such as fresh grass, paddy, gocharan, turmeric, kumkum, and sandalwood. All these presentations filled a large basket. When Sita Thakurani came to the house of Sachi Devi, bringing with her many kinds of eatables, dresses, and other gifts, she was astonished to see the newborn child, for she appreciated that except for a difference in color, the child was directly Krishna of Goloka himself. Sita Devi is Purnamasi, she's Yogamaya, and she's perceiving this same child as non-different to Krishna. Seeing the transcendental bodily effulgence of the child, each of his nicely constructed limbs full of auspicious signs and resembling a form of gold, Sita Thakurani was very pleased, and because of her maternal affection, she felt her heart were melting. She blessed the newborn child by placing fresh grass and putty on his head and saying, "May you be blessed with a long duration of life." But being afraid of ghosts and witches, she gave the child the name Nimai. So this is where the name Nimai comes from. It comes directly from Sita Thakurani. On the day, the mother on that day, the mother and son bathed and left the maternity home. Sita Thakurani gave them all kinds of ornaments and garments, and then also honored Jagannath Mishra. Then Sita Thakurani, being honored by Mother Sita Devi and Jagannath Mishra, was greatly happy within her mind, and thus she returned home. So this beautiful festive mood. In this way, Sachi Devi and Jagannath Mishra, having obtained a son who was the husband of the goddess of fortune, had all their desires fulfilled. Their house was always filled with riches and grains. As they saw the beloved body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, day after day their pleasure increased. Jagannath Mishra was an ideal Vaishnava. He was peaceful, restrained in sense gratification, pure and controlled. Therefore, he had no desire to enjoy material opulence. Whatever money came because of the influence of his transcendental son, he gave it in charity to the Brahmanas for the satisfaction of Vishnu. This is exactly like Nanda Baba. So now I want to read, this is the Advent in synopsis, but now I want to read the prayers that, oh no, just a minute. I want to get to this verse. Where are we? It's 98. So I must be here already. Okay. So we're reading this section, which we sing every day while the Abhishek is going on, especially in our Keshavji Gaudiya Mat. Right now, our Keshavji Gaudiya Mat will be filling up. It'll be absolutely packed by 6 o'clock, and we have a glorious Abhishek on the stage, and then we have a incredible Gaura Arti. We have a very large Keshavji Gaudiya Mat, so it completely packs. Even people are standing on the steps and can't get in today. And we have a thunderous kirtan, which is very. My Gurudev, he deliberately built a huge Natamandir because he knew during this time of Gaura Purnima it would be completely packed with hundreds of thousands of people coming. um, After calculating the birth moment of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nilambar Chakravarti privately said to Jagannath Mishra that he saw all the different symptoms of a great personality in both the body and birth moment of the child. Thus he understood that in the future this child would deliver all the three worlds. In this way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, out of his causeless mercy, made his advent in the house of Sachi Devi. Lord Chaitanya is very merciful to anyone who hears this narration of his birth, and thus such a person attains the lotus feet of the Lord. So it's very important. And all our Guru Vargya know the importance of hearing this narration at this particular time of a few, uh, what is it, an hour, 20, 40 minutes before his actual advent. Anyone who attains a human body but does not take to the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is baffled in his opportunity. Amrita Duni is a flowing river of the nectar of devotional service. If after getting a human body one drinks the water in a poisoned pit of material happiness instead of the water of such a river, it would be better for him to have not to have lived, but to have died long ago. If we allow ourselves to be separated from these truths, if we allow ourselves to be focused on some material objective rather than our highest spiritual welfare, the material objective is like a poisonous pit, and the spiritual welfare, which is so readily available to such a degree, we understand that even the demigods are queuing up to take birth in this Kali Yuga at this time. The demigods, they have all opulences, but they know that by coming into this earthly planet at this time, where the atmosphere and influence of Mahaprabhu's teachings are prevalent, they know that they can make so rapid advancement in such a short space of time. The demigods' years of life are, it's 306 million years is the duration of a deva. Every Manu, and there are 14 Manus in a day of Lord Brahma, and each Manu is approximately 310 million years. And the demigods, they take their birth for the duration of one Manu. When the Manu changes, then all those devas, they leave those bodies and they either resume lower or higher places according to their karmas, etc. So Swagaloka is still a place of their karmic reactions are still going. This is the place where you make your karma. The planets, the heavenly planets, is the place where you fulfill your karma. This is called, this is Boga Yoni, the enjoyment species. That's the species of pleasure. Here we are Karma Yoni. We are creating karma. And the lower planets are Papa Yoni. They are living their sinful reactions in the lower planets. So this is the duration. And the devas, they are queuing up to take birth at this particular time. So how unfortunate that the conditioned jivas, if they come in contact even just a little bit with this philosophy, but then again leave it and don't develop the faith sufficiently in this philosophy. That's greatly tragic, in fact, that they would leave this path. They're giving up the highest welfare. Then taking on my head as my own property the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami, I, Krishna Das, have thus described the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is very beautiful. And this we sing, all of these different verses. I haven't spoken all the verses, but I've said a lot of the verses to get the idea, the comprehension of the absolute jubilation, the absolute festivity, the absolute intoxicating joy and pleasure and bliss that the advent of Mahaprabhu manifests in the hearts of all jivas at this time. And if we hear these pastimes at this particular auspicious moment, just 40 minutes before, less, half an hour, 30 minutes before he's actually due to Advent, then how fortuitous is our life going to become? And if we have this with faith, and we pray for the mercy that these truths will grow and blossom within our hearts. So that's now it begins the beautiful child pastime of the Lord. But I can also read something of how Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur describes the same pastime in his own way. So this is the same pastime again, but it's described by um, Vrindavan Das Thakur. At all the auspicious symptoms present throughout unlimited universes appear together on that full moon night. So this is what is taking place now. Thus the Lord simultaneously appeared along with the congregational chanting of the holy names, which he inaugurated on the pretext of the lunar eclipse. So everyone's chanting Hare Krishna. They all know this is the auspicious um, uh, activity during an eclipse. Eclipse is very inauspicious. It's not auspicious generally, an eclipse. We see many uninformed people, they run out and they want to view the eclipse. But what do the Vaishnavas do? They close all the windows, close all the curtains, they close the doors of the deities, and they stay inside the temple chanting Hare Krishna very loudly to offset the inauspicious omens that may manifest with that lunar eclipse. It's an but this eclipse is full of auspiciousness because it's Mahaprabhu who is adventing. So this is a different circumstance here. All the auspicious symptoms present throughout unlimited universes appear together on that full moon night. Thus, yes, I read that. Who has the power to understand the activities of the Lord? By his desire, Rahu covered the moon. When the inhabitants of Navadvip saw the eclipse, they began to chant the auspicious names of Hari. They began to chant Hari to offset anything that might be inauspicious. They didn't realize that something so auspicious was actually taking place, but they were considering, oh, this is inauspicious, like I just described. The devotees, they go inside, they close, and they chant Hare Krishna to offset any inauspicious omens. So all the residents of Navadvip, they were chanting Hari Hari to purify themselves. Millions of people went to take bath in the Ganges while chanting Hari Bol, Hari Bol. The whole of Nadia was filled with the sound vibration of the name of Hari. Indeed, the sound vibration filled the entire universe and beyond. And I've described a number of times how when the kirtan parties all come around, and there's so many kirtan parties coming together, it almost seems to the sadhak here in this material world that that sound vibration is cracking the clouds. It becomes so tumultuous today. All the devotees said, from the great happiness that we are feeling today, it can be understood that Krishna must have appeared. Vrindavan Das Thakur was saying like this. As the devotees all went to take the bath in the Ganges, the vibration of the name of Hari was continually heard from all directions. Whether one was young, old, woman, pious or impious, everyone was engaged in chanting the name of Hari while observing the eclipse. All one could hear was Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Thus the name of Lord Hari was heard throughout the entire universe. The demigods showered flowers in all directions, and they played kettle drums and chanted Jai, Jai. At that very moment, the life of all living entities, Sri Satchidananda, made his appearance during that auspicious, joyful occasion, when the moon was covered by Rahu, when the ocean of the holy names was manifest, when Kali was subdued, and when the flag of victory was raised. At that time, the Supreme Lord appeared, and the 14 worlds filled with the sound of Jai Jai. So even Kali becomes subdued at the potency of the sound vibration of Krishna's name at that time. The happiness of the people of Nadia daily increased, and their lamentation was vanquished as they saw the moonlight Lord Gauranga. Kettle drums were sounded, hundreds of conch shells were blown, and flutes and horns were played. In this way, Vrindavan Das Thakur sings the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Nityananda. The Lord's beautiful bodily features cannot be perceived, for they outshine the rays of the sun. His bodily features are so illuminating and shining that they can't be perceived because of the golden complexion of Sri Radhika. His broad eyes, which are upturned at the ends, like lotus upturned, have no comparison. His beautiful, splendid lotus-like eyes. Upon the appearance of Lord Gauranga in this world, the sound vibration of Hari's name spread throughout the universe up to Brahmaloka. The Lord's broad chest is smeared with bright sandalwood pulp and decorated with a flower garland. The Lord's sweet face is as soothing as the full moon, and his long arms extend to his knees. All the living entities of the world are blessed to see Sri Chaitanya. Some dance, some chant, and some loudly exclaim, Jai, Jai. Kali, however, feels sad and laments. Sri Chaitanya is the crown on the head of the four Vedas, but sinful and foolish people cannot understand this. Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur sings the glories of Sri Chaitanya Chandra and Sri Nityananda. And there's a commentary by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He says, Sri Chaitanya Dev is like the crown on the Upanishads, which are like the heads of the four Vedas. In other words, he is worshipable by the four-headed Brahma. Nikila Shruti Moli, Ratna Mala, Duti Nirajita Pada Pankajanta. The tips of the toes of your lotus feet are constantly being worshipped by the glowing radiance emanating from the string of gems known as the Upanishads, the crown jewel of the Vedas. And back into the translations now. As Sri Gaurachandra appeared, the 10 directions became filled with bliss. The Lord's beauty defeats that of millions of cupids. He laughs upon hearing his holy names chanted. Remember when he would cry, he would make all the ladies chant Hare Krishna, and then he would begin to smile and gurgle very happily. The lady's heart would melt and they would vibrate the name even louder. The Lord's beauty defeats that of millions of cupids. He laughs upon hearing his holy names chanted. The Lord's face and eyes are most sweet, and his body is decorated with the signs of a king. His lotus feet are marked with a flag and a thunderbolt. All his limbs attract the minds of all people. By his advent, all danger is vanquished and all prosperity is manifested. Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Hearing that Lord Chaitanya had incarnated, all the demigods became overjoyed. They are overwhelmed with ecstasy on seeing the Lord's face that destroys all misery. Ananta, Brahma, Shiva, and other demigods accept the form of human beings and chant Hari Hari on the pretext of the eclipse. No one, however, could recognize them. The people of Nadia ran in the 10 directions while loudly chanting Hari Hari. The demigods and human beings mixed together, and the whole of Navadvip is filled with ecstasy. It sort of seems like that when you go out into the crowds and you just no idea who is who. And there's so many crowds of people, and sometimes you come in the crowds of the meeting parikrama parties, and they're all chanting Hare Krishna, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. So we get a direct experience of this ecstatic occasion, even just on the streets of Nadia here in Goradam today. All the demigods came to the courtyard of Sachi Devi and offered their obeisances. Because of the darkness created by the eclipse, no one can recognize them. Such are the mysterious pastimes of Sri Chaitanya. So the Devas, they came, just like the Devas, they come during Krishna's birth. They all come and offer prayers to Devaki. And here they're all offering prayers to Sachimata. They know that the Supreme Lord is advented because they've been requested previously by Lord Brahma to take their births during Mahaprabhu's advent. And they've all taken their births. And as I described before, some of them are born in other places, but they all come to Navadvip for this birth pastime. Some demigods offer prayers, someone holds an umbrella, another waves a chamara, some happily shower flowers, others dance, and some play musical instruments. So even though the demigods are not pure bhaktas, they are completely dharmic by nature, utterly. They cannot shift from that dharmic conception, that dharmic mentality. So they know in their hearts the Aishwarya aspect of the Lord. This is what they're knowing conclusively. So they know that the Lord has advented at this time within Nadia. So they're all coming to offer their obeisances. Lord Gaurahari descended along with his devotees, but the atheists did not understand a thing. Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I Vrindavan Das Thakur, I Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of the lotus feet. And there's a commentary by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He says the word pasandi refers to persons who blaspheme and ridicule the devotees, as well as those who consider the demigods, who are actually the servants of the Supreme, as equal to Lord Vishnu. So we should never have that misconception that the Devas, even though we honor the Devas and we glorify them in many occasions, we still know that they are nothing like as the identity of the Supreme Lord himself. They are servants of the Supreme Lord. And many of them, they are serving the Lord, but they don't know his Madhurya identity. This is for sure. They understand the Aishwarya aspect, but their Sukriti is not sufficient, most of them, to understand. Some, like Bhishma Dev, will come to understand. Bhishma Dev, who manifests here, and the five Pandavas who manifest here, they will understand Krishna's past. And there are so many devotees, Nitya Siddha Parikas, who advent with Krishna and with Mahaprabhu. They will understand the Madhurya aspect of Mahaprabhu. Huh?
Ask one question.
What's that?
Yesterday we said that all demigods, the highest destination is near Vishesh Brahm, right?
Yes.
So how goes with this that actually
They understand that he's Vishnu. That's what I keep saying. They understand he's Vishnu. They don't understand that he's actually that personification of that Supreme Lord. Vishnu is the maintainer of this world. Vishnu is like Lord Narayan, right? He's like Lord Narayan. So they will honor him, but in their hearts, they have a desire for, they consider that the Nirvishesh Brahm is a higher state of consciousness than worshipping Vishnu. They believe that. Brihaspati, he's described as Brahman realized. But they will, because they know Vishnu is the most powerful of all the devas in existence. They know that. So they're honoring him in that way. And they're honoring him as Lord Narayan also. But they're not like surrendered souls to that conception. They're more surrendered souls to the Nirvishesh Brahm. But at this particular time of his advent, all become attracted and intoxicated. But that wears off after some time, and they go back to their previous thoughts. There was a message, I didn't read it all though. Uh, the word prasandi refers to persons who blaspheme and ridicule the devotees, as well as those who consider the demigods, who are actually the servants of the Supreme, to be equal to Lord Vishnu, who they can, who is their controller. See, they understand Vishnu is their controller, so they're worshipping him in that way. In this way, Vrindavan Das Thakur sings the glories of the demigods. Play kettle drums and dindima drums, chant the auspicious sound of Jai, and sing in sweet melodies. The demigods think, today we will see the Lord, who is unknown through the Vedas. Therefore, let us not waste time. So they have this conception, by the mercy of the Lord, to see have his darshan, but they aren't sufficiently strong enough to maintain that. Just like the story of Indra. Indra appreciates that this is that Supreme Lord. Lord Brahma himself appreciated it was the Supreme Lord. Finally, after he performed that Brahma Vimohan Leela, he's the Lord of the demigods, is Lord Brahma, and he was bewildered by Krishna. He was present, he was aware of Krishna's advent when Krishna was born in Mathura. He was aware of him being born as the Supreme Lord, but he wasn't aware of that his total potency. He's aware of him more as Vishnu, as the supreme controller, but not as that Madhurya mood, that controller of, not aware of any rasik, that relationship aspect. Because in the Brahman, there's no sambhog, there's no relationship. It's just the bliss of the impersonal Brahman. That bliss is extraordinary, but they don't conceive of the personality there. But they do conceive of Vishnu. But there's a distinction between the two. Understand a little bit? What do you understand?
The last part you said. I mean, they still worshiping the person, you know?
Of Vishnu.
Yeah, Vishnu is
But they
God.
don't believe fully that he's the supreme goal to be attained.
Okay.
Vishnu is like the Lord of all the devas, but actually there is a higher goal to be attained, and that's the bliss of impersonal Brahman. This is higher. They believe that the bliss of and most of the rishis and sages, they also believe this. They believe in mukti, liberation from all material encumbrances. This is what they believe primarily. And the example of Indra with the parijat flower, etc. He worships Krishna and begs forgiveness, and he witnesses Krishna holding a mountain, for 7 days, the little boy on his finger. He must be so powerful, more powerful than Indra. His pride is smashed. But then when Krishna asks a couple of weeks later for a parijat flower, he refuses. So where is their nishta to the personality?
What about when Indra came to Surabhi, no? Surabhi.
When he came here and saw Sachinandana, he was totally influenced by the beauty and speciality of Mahaprabhu and felt forgiven. He wanted to be forgiven. That was his prime objective. And when he actually got that forgiveness in his heart, what did he do? Did he stay and just perform pastimes with Mahaprabhu here in this land or meditate? No, he went straight back to Swaga to resume his kingly post, because that's actually his dharmic duty to do like that. But he didn't have that desire. Surabhi Devi, she actually stayed here because she had the appreciation that this form of Gauranga Mahaprabhu is the place I want to own. I want to always be in his eternal land of Navadvip. So that Surabhi Devi initially was a Surabhi Devi from the heavenly planets that came with Indra. But the full Surabhi Devi from Goloka Vrindavan, she infuses within the heart of that celestial Surabhi Devi that came with Indra, and it's that eternal Surabhi Devi that resides here now. This is the eternal Dham of Nadia. This is the eternal Dham of Navadvip. This Dham is eternal. So this Surabhi Devi that is residing here, she is that eternal personality. merged with the celestial personality. But Indradev himself, which is what you were asking about, he goes back to Swagaloka. He's not, his adhikar isn't sufficient just to remain and maintain here. Sometimes it's described that Indra advents as Prataparudra in Puridam. I have to check that. I'm not sure of that. But um, Indradev, he doesn't come and perform the eternal pastimes with Sachimanandana. So this is difficult for us to understand, the eternal aspect. The demigods play kettle drums, a chant, auspicious sound jai, and sing in sweet melodies. The demigods think, today we will see the Lord, who is unknown through the Vedas. Therefore, let us not waste time. And there's a commentary by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He says, the appearance of Sri Chaitanya is unknown to the Vedas. He's not described. There's only one verse in the 11th canto, Krishna Varnam, Twisa Krishnam, Sangopangasta Parsadam, Yagya Sankirtanam Ye, Yajantihi Sumedishaha, that intelligent men will perform the glorification of that person who is not blackish but of a golden complexion, that supreme person in this age. Only an intelligent person, because he's in a covered incarnation. He's not directly manifesting his Bhagavata, although he sometimes does at the Sat Pahariya pastimes in Srivasangam. Then for 21 hours, he manifests his full Vishnu Krishna form in front of the devotees to establish his identity. But then after that, he goes back to being Nimaya Nadia. It's covered again. The sadhak has to take care to study these teachings carefully to try to appreciate the external behavior of Mahaprabhu. We understand the internal desires, etc., but the external behavior of Mahaprabhu, what is he showing? How is he trying to demonstrate his identity in the world? He's a covered avatar. Whenever he heard himself glorified as the Supreme, he would cover his ears, right? In this way, the residents of Amaravati, that's Indra's place, Indra's place, are in ecstasy, and an auspicious commotion arises as they decorate themselves to go and see the Lord. By our great fortune, we will see Sri Chaitanya in Navadvip. But the sincere sadhak, he will perceive the mercy of Mahaprabhu. We will perceive the mercy of Mahaprabhu in our lives, and we will be celebrating today the fortune that Mahaprabhu's connection has brought me in my life. We can celebrate in this way. Yes, because of Mahaprabhu, I have access to the holy name. And because of Mahaprabhu, I have access to his inner heart's desire through the teachings of Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami and Jiva Goswami and Srila Krishna's Kaviraj, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It is because of his mercy, Mahaprabhu. So I'm remembering this merciful Mahaprabhu through his parikas, through these personalities, that I am receiving this mercy today. Today I'm remembering this. This is giving me great joy. This is Mahaprabhu in our lives here, particularly the sound vibration. Every day we rise and we chant the holy names. It is by Mahaprabhu's mercy that we are able to chant the holy names and come closer to an appreciation of his pure identity as Brajendranandan Sham Sundar, Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritya. What is it? Radha Krishna Vikritya. How's it go? Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritya Hladini Shakti Asmat Ekatmana Vapibuvi Deha Vedam Toto Chaitanyayakam Prakatam Aduna Tadvayam Chekimaptam Radha Bhav Durisivalitam Nomi Krishna Swarupam. This Radha Bhav is being manifested by Brajendranandan Sham Sundar. This is who he is. But the Devas, they don't know that. They don't understand that. They haven't. If they did, they wouldn't be able to perform their very essential services to the Lord. This is why they have their dharmic nature prominently, because their seva, Suryadev, he rises for 365 days of the year, performs his orbit of the planets, etc., with his chariot. And if he became too much intoxicated, which he does periodically, then how would the sun manage to rise and set, etc.? Would it just be on autopilot? So the devas, they have their positions to perform. So they are covered by various coverings of deep Aishwarya. They are very, very important personalities. They have huge responsibilities. We can't even conceive of the responsibilities they have. Vayudev, responsible for all the air that is blowing around the planet. Agni Dev, all the fire that is externally burning and internally in our digestive systems. It's a great responsibility to maintain that. So they have this abhiman of being an important personality. So that restricts them in their appreciation of the sweetness and speciality of Brajendranand and Shyam Sundar. But somehow, by the mercy of Mahaprabhu, they're witnessing momentarily Mahaprabhu's pastimes and sweetness, especially in the pastime of Jagai and Madai. This is described one beautiful chapter of Chaitanya Bhagavat, when all the devas, the demigods, their kirtan is just ecstatic. And Shivji, he's passing out. Yamaraj, he falls down in his chariot, and all the other devas, they come around to revive him from his swoon, of overcome with bliss at the beauty of the speciality of Mahaprabhu. So all these circumstances are there for us to appreciate.
So after the devas perform their duties, Gurudev, so will they get an opportunity to come to this earth after their whole cycle is finished? Will they get an opportunity to come and do the sadhan bhajan here?
We have
Because
personalities that we can recall, like Vidura.
hmm,
A transcendental curse is arranged for Yamaraj, where he can associate with Krishna directly. That was his desire. Yamaraj's desire was to associate with Krishna. So then, by Krishna's arrangement, he took the form of Vidura for 100 years, and his an expansion from Yamaraj is described continued his seva
hmm,
in Swagaloka. But Vidura was directly um, Yamaraj, and he was experiencing the closeness with Brajendranand, with Krishna directly. It was actually Maturesh Krishna most of the time. It wasn't Brajendranandan, it was Maturesh Krishna in Hastinapur with the five Pandavas. So this is one, and Suryadev, um, who is he? He becomes a parika of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Vakrashra Pandit is described as Aniruddha in the quadruple expansion.
hmm.
So he takes his form as Vakrashra Pandit through their desire to connect with the Lord more fully.
Then what is their destination after they are being connected with the Lord Gurudev? They go back to the Nirvana
No,
abode or then
no, at the time of the universal devastation,
hmm,
then they can go to
like
Dwarka Puri, or they can go to Mathura Puri. They can go to a higher destination than here.
because Brahma is described as Haridas Thakur. No?
Yes, Haridas Thakur. So he also takes a much higher. This Brahma is described as a Vaishnava, a devotee, a pure devotee.
Yes.
So sometimes the Brahmins, they take rebirth again, but this Brahma will not.
Hmm.
The present Brahma will not. The present Brahma will go to um,
Lord of Mahaprabhu.
Mahaprabhu's pastimes, Svetadvip, Goloka Vrindavan. Golok is different to Gokul. So there will be stages there. But certainly they go to a higher destination. um, Being overjoyed on the birth of the Lord of Nadia, the demigods repeatedly embrace and kiss one another without reservation or consideration of whether one is a friend or a stranger. In this joyous condition, they come to Navadvip and hear the sound vibration of Hari's names from all sides. There they taste Gaura's ecstatic emotions and become overwhelmed as they sing his glories. There in Sachi's house, they see the beautiful form of Lord Gauranga, who resembles millions of moons combined together in the guise of human beings. And on the pretext of the eclipse, they all loudly chant the name of Hari. So, yes, Lord Brahma will have an opportunity to definitely take part in the highest transcendental pastimes in a future birth. He'll be born in a family of Brijabasis. His desire, though, what was the desire of Lord Brahma? He wanted to become a stone, like Uddhav wanted to become grass. Lord Brahma wanted to become, because in every Brijabasi's house they have a stone where you wipe the dust off your feet. You bang on the stone and the dust comes off your feet before you walk in the house. The stone often has holes in it like that, like we have those sort of mats here, rubber mats, but they have stones in Braj. So Lord Brahma wanted to be that stone where he could receive the mercy of the Brijbasis on his head. So that's his desire. So that is a mood of dasya ras. His mood of dasya, it wasn't a mood of even sakya, what to speak of vatsalya or madhurya. So it was the lower degree. So Lord Brahma would have attained uh, a position of dasya ras in Goloka Vrindavan, not Gokul. So there's distinction there. So Sri Gaura Chandra appeared along with his energies, but the atheists cannot understand a thing. Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. So that's the end of this chapter. And actually, right now, at this very minute, is the moonrise. So right now is the time when we're officially allowed to break our fast. And but in our temple program, we will have an abhishek now, and then they will take the feast, Ekadashi preparation feast, without chili, 100% today. I spoke heavily to all of them, all all the in charge make, and even Sapna is saying minus chili. That was the expression I said, because that sometimes you think, oh, we just have a little bit of chili and that'll be all right. They don't realize that that's breaking the entire Kodasi Brat, you know. But so I said to her very strongly, minus 0 minus 0. So I think she got it. I hope she got it anyway. Huh?
We will let you know.
Well, I'll come.
Okay.
But if it's there, I won't take it. So these are the glories of the advent of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we can break our fast at this time here in India, if you're here in India, but we will break at around about 7ish. So Sachinandan Gaura Hari ki jai, Navadvip Dham Parikrama ki jai, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Vaishnavas ki jai, Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. What shall we sing? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ramo Ramo Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Oh, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Nitai, Jaya Gaur, Jaya Nitai, Jaya Gaur, Jaya Nitai, Jaya Gaur, Jaya Nitai, Jaya Gaur. Oh Jaya Sachi Nandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachi Nandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachi Nandan Jaya Gaura Hari. Oh Nitai Hey, 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 Nitai Hey. Gaura Hey, 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 Gaura Hey. Oh Jaya Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe, Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Oh Radhe, 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 Radhe. Nityananda Rai ki jai, Satchinandana Gaura Hari ki jai, Radha Madan Mohan Ju ki jai, Rishabhanu Nandini Vajeshwari Radharani ki jai, Gaura Dham ki jai, Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Jai Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Papnebhyo Vaishnave Namo Namaha Satchinandana Gaura Hari ki jai, Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.